So those who wish to use this as your guide for your painting portion when you're completed with your pencil and pen drawing, this is the part of the video that I wanted to just showcase the actual finished painting. So I'll move this away. This might be a distraction, and we'll just zoom in, and you can kind of see the painting. So this is the painting, and you can hit pause and use this as your reference. You can print it out, take a picture of it with an iPhone from the computer. So there's many ways to do it. Probably the easiest way is just to hit pause on a laptop or a home computer and work from there. But I don't know how your setup is, so I'll leave that up to everybody to figure out how to get this finished painting so that it's comfortable for you to work from this. But that's up to you, and we'll move on to the next segment just in a second. All right, so this is the pen drawing section. I just wanted to let everyone have the opportunity to maybe hit pause, do a screenshot, or hit pause, and you can work from this drawing. This is the actual pen drawing, which we did over the top of our pencil drawing. So basically, if you can imagine, we did this entire drawing first with pencil. And the reason I do this is because maybe you might have stopped in the middle of the video here, and you're maybe not sure what process we're actually in right now. But this is the portion of the video where I'm going to stop the video. This is the finished pen drawing. So first we did a pencil drawing very lightly of this scene. Then we went over the top with our permanent ink markers. And now we're at this state where we have the pencil drawing done, the ink markers all done, permanent ink. So this won't bleed or reactivate when we go over it with our watercolor paints. So now, moving on forward from here, we're going to add our watercolor washes over the top of this to give it that absolutely beautiful watercolor beauty with that gorgeous pen and ink and wash style feel underneath the watercolor, which just looks great. So let's get into it. We'll do the watercolor washes next, but I just wanted to do a quick stop on this point, and this way if you wanted to work from this drawing, you can. All right, now this quick brief segment right here that I'm going to do, I'm going to have this drawing now here on the video so that you can see the pencil drawing. Some of you may not want to use the pens. You can also use ink and wash technique, so you can do the pencil drawing first and then go over with an ink and wash technique with an ink pen. So that we've done those many times here. You have your bamboo pen, right? We've done that on my channel many times if you want. And you just have some permanent India ink, black India ink, waterproof India ink. And usually you would have a small plastic inkwell like this. And you just put a little tiny bit of ink in the bottom of it, just to cover the bottom a little bit. And you dip your pen in. So you can do an ink and wash with this. So you can go over this pencil drawing with an ink and wash style. If you don't want to do that, and you figure you want to just go with a watercolor over the top of pencil, you can do that now. So I'm just putting here the drawing so that you can pause. So you can hit the pause button and work from this if you'd like, the pencil drawing. And of course, we're going to move on from this point, and we're going to go over the top of this with our waterproof pens. So we're going to do a waterproof pen drawing over the top of this pencil drawing. So we'll be right back. Okay, hi everybody. I'm going to zoom in here. I set up my camera so that we can see our reference photograph. A gorgeous scene in Neshannock Station, New Jersey. This is the Neshannock Station Bridge. This is in the United States. This is close by to where I live. My friend, Bud, sent me this photograph. He was out sightseeing and hiking and doing some tourism around his local area, and he took some great photographs. And he sent me this photograph, so I decided, let's paint this. Let's draw and paint this. Let's really, it's a beautiful photograph. So I would say that this is, one of the best type of photographs you can work from. It looks just like a great composition. Lots of interesting subject matter filling the camera eye, so you can see that it looks really exciting. It's a great composition as far as the photograph goes. So I'm going to zoom in just a little more so we can kind of see the scene. It's a beautiful bridge on the left, and we have a gorgeous building on the right-hand side, and some river, water coming through the scene. In the foreground, we have some really nice retaining walls, abutment walls in the front of the building and alongside to the right there. So it's a really great photograph. Let's use this photograph to create a beautiful pen and ink drawing. So we're going to do something really interesting. We're going to do a pen and ink drawing, simple 3-step process. And just wanted to zoom in on this. So this will be your photograph. If you want to work from the photograph, fine. Hit pause. You can hit pause and leave your phone or your laptop or your computer screen paused on this scene and work from that as you draw and paint. Or you can use the finished watercolor painting that we're going to have at the also just after this here, so that you can work from that as well if you'd like. So a little bit easier, I think, for most watercolor artists to work from actual paintings than it is from a photograph, but photographs are great too. I work from photographs all the time. Okay, so let's take a quick break. We're going to keep working forward here. We'll be working on our drawing and then putting in some of our pen drawing over the top of our pencil drawing, and then we'll finally do our watercolor washes over the top of that. So we're going to have a lot of fun here. Let's keep going. Let's keep working through the process. And this is the photograph, and if you want to hit pause and use this, that's fine. Other than that, we'll be back in just a second. Okay, so now we're going to actually work on our drawing, our light pencil drawing. This is to just give us a guide so that when we do our pen drawing over the top of our pencil drawing, we're going to have a really pleasing composition. We're going to have everything all set up for ourselves so that when we do our pen drawing, it's going to go really smoothly. We don't want to be using our pens in this drawing in a way where we're kind of trying to figure things out as we go. So that's why we use the pencil first. Let's use the pencil first, get our rough drawing in so that we locate everything on our painting surface. We have some smooth arches, satin finish paper. It's hot pressed. Let's use hot pressed paper for this type of painting because we have markers, and markers, if we use rough paper, that's going to damage the pens, the permanent markers that we're using in permanent pens. So let's think of that. So when you're using permanent pens, better off using some hot pressed satin finish paper, the smooth paper, versus the rough paper. And we'll get started. So here, like always, we are going to just set up some hash marks around our paper. Let's first, let's say, okay, the light is coming from from the left to the right. And we put our light insignia. How easy is that? We have to put this light insignia, though, because this is going to let you know at any point in your drawing or painting where the light source is coming from. So the sunlight's coming from the left side of the photograph, and our drawing and our painting, as we're working through it, we need to know that light source and where it is coming from. This way we'll never be struggling to figure out where the shadows and the light are, if that makes sense. So we know the light is going to be coming from the left this way. So we have that set now. That's a very critical point. So you want to have that on your tape. I just taped around my paper. It's always nice to use some artist tape, drafting tape. You put it around your watercolor paper, and this way it gives you a nice, beautiful, crisp, clean border. Let's do that. Always good to have that. Okay, so now we're going to locate our barn structure. That is about center of the page, but not quite center. It's actually a little beyond. It looks perfect where it's situated, which is right about the golden mean. So we're going to say that's the barn. And then from here over, we're going to say that's about there. So that's the barn here. And I'll make little notes for myself. Barn face, barn side. And that's pretty good. And then we're going to say that the retaining wall that runs in front of the barn is about not quite halfway up on the painting. So I'm going to say that's the halfway point. It's a little lower than that. Not by a lot, but some. So let's put it there and say, okay, this is the, I'll just say wall there. That's the retaining wall. And here we have the bridge. Let's say that it's more than halfway. So if our halfway point is about here, the bridge looks a little bit higher than halfway. Let's put it about there. And we'll put a little note, bridge here, bridge top bridge here. And I think we're pretty good. We have the main barn structure located here. We have the retaining wall that's in front of the barn here. And then we have the top of the bridge here coming down into the picture. So if we get these few things laid out, it really will help us a lot. So let's get those laid out onto our paper. I'm also going to look at one more, the water. The water, and so the water in the bottom of the structure, the barn structure, is about a third of the way up. So we'll say this is water. So the water line, basically. The water line is there, the river, and we're all set. We have the water line, we have the wall top, we have our barn, the beautiful barn here, and then we have the bridge, the Neshannock Station Bridge right here that goes over alongside the barn. So we pretty much have our waypoints set up. Perfect time to take a break. When we do these hash marks around our paper and we're really concentrating and looking at everything, and takes up a lot of concentration. That's why when we complete this around our border we have our artist tape taped around our picture space, our rectangle here. So we have our rectangle we're working within, and we have our tape taped down on top of our watercolor paper. This is smooth satin finish paper. And then when we do these hash marks, they take a lot of concentration. So always remember, if you're really doing something that's taking a lot of concentration, you have to give yourself a break, for 10, 15 minutes, or 5-10 minutes to get your concentration level back up again where you're feeling relaxed, comfortable, and you can come back and then we'll start doing the drawing. To try to lay out all these points here on the paper and around our rectangle, to try to go in straight away without taking a break and start doing the pencil drawing, you're going to go in with sort of a deficit. So let's not do that. Let's take our time. There's no rush. Take your time. Give yourself a rest as you get these waypoints in around your painting. Finish those up. And once you do that, take a break, 10, 15 minutes. Then we come back and we start our pencil drawing. And you'll find that when you take that break, you'll be more relaxed and your pencil drawing will go so much smoother. All right, so let's do that. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. Okay, let's start our drawing now. Just a quick note before we start drawing, we're going to just break out a few of our writing utensils, our drawing utensils. So here we have, I'm going to use the Pentel retractable mechanical pencil. It's a 0.7 millimeter, easy to find. It's blue. So it's a Pentel 120 A3DX 0.7 millimeter. If you wanted to know the exact type of retractable pencil I'm using, it's really nice. It's got a pencil. If you pull off the cap on the back, you have a pencil or an eraser there if you need. I'll use this. Now, also, I constantly use a number 2 office pencil. And the same thing too. It's got an eraser. I have a sharpener right next to me, an electric sharpener, battery operated. So that's really works great too. So if you have an office pencil or a school pencil, that works just as good. And then we're going to use pens too as well. We're going to use artist pens. They're permanent. So I use 2 brands mostly, and I usually just buy the large package, which has like maybe 5 or 6 assorted sizes of the pens itself. So some of the pens might call the pens like small, medium, large, extra large for the point on the pens. Some will give you the exact size of 0.5, 1.0, 0.25. So but the 2 brands are Statler and Faber-Castell. These are 2 really great pens. They're permanent pens. They're indelible ink. They're waterproof. This way we can draw and then paint over with watercolor, and it's not going to run or bleed the black pen markings that we have. So as we draw with these pens, they're not, once we draw on the paper, our watercolor paper, they're not going to reactivate when we do watercolor over them. They're going to stay, the original mark will stay as is. It won't bleed or become reactivated again. So that's really nice. So you're looking for permanent waterproof pens. And Statler and Faber-Castell make some great pens, and they're affordable. And they make them in all sizes, and you can research that online. Okay, so we have our I'll use my mechanical pencil. We're going to do the pencil drawing now of the Neshannock Station Bridge with a beautiful barn next to it, and it's along a river. Let's start out here. Now we made our hash marks around our page so that we have everything all ready to go for us, so we don't have to start guessing while we're drawing. Now we can just freely draw, have a good time, enjoy the time of drawing, contour drawing, while we're doing this scene, and we're not going to stress. So you're going to see I'm going to go across with my water. And then as I see this line here that says barn, I know I'm going to stop here, and I'm going to start my vertical line to get my structure, my barn structure here. And then we're just going to continue up. And I see the eaves of the roof of the barn here. And then we have a gambrel roof, so that kind of has that little bit of a change in angle about 2/3 of the way up. And then we're going to come down. Now this line is about here. It's a little bit higher than this line. So I'm just looking and kind of trying to make sure I get the angles pretty well. Here, if I look up, the angle's about like this. So there's a good time to just check your angles as you go. Try to get your angles, you know. We can see that that is like so. Then this roof, eave here, is angled downwards. And it stops about there. And then we go up. And then we can so we angle upwards like so. And if you add a little extra, something that's not there in the photograph, that's fine. And we'll put this here. This is the cupola on top of the roof here. And now I see this goes up like so. And then like that. So you're always checking your angles. And you can always, later on when you paint, you're not going to see the, if you go over, so if you sometimes go over your lines when you're drawing, that's fine. When you paint, you'll never see that. So that's just something to remember. You don't have to get too concerned when you're doing your pencil drawing. A lot of that's just going to become irrelevant once you're painting. And the shadow is here. This side is all in shadow. You can lightly, gently put some pencil lines if you want to put in where the shadows might be. That's really a big help. And here is the roof on that, the point of the roof. Looks good. Okay, now we can come over here and we'll get our back wall here. Now the wall top I put here, but I think it's actually a little lower, so let's not get too concerned. It's around there, so you feel it out. This corner of the building is here. And that looks pretty good. So you can see how we did a really simple pencil drawing, contour drawing. We just went around slowly checking our angles. Take as much time as you need to check your angles as you go. I've traced a number of times, especially when I did early on when I first started watercolor painting and people asked me to do paintings for them. If I had trouble with the drawing, I would trace, or I would do something to sort of make my job easier as an artist. Does that make sense? So if you find you really want to do a beautiful painting just like this, but you haven't been drawing a long time, that's fine. You can always take maybe a photograph of this or print out a copy on a copier machine and print out a picture of this. And then you could always take your watercolor paper and put it over the top of the photograph and then maybe put it up to a window and trace the outside edge of the building in the key areas so that you can get the overall idea of the shape of the building and some of the lines. And then from there you can maybe fill in some of the windows and other details, and you don't have to be worried and so concerned about those details, tracing those. But if you do have to trace once in a while when you're first starting out, that is fine. Or if you just haven't put in a ton of time on drawing and you like to paint more than you do, if you like to paint more often than not, no problem. Once in a while, if you need to trace a few things, if it's a difficult painting, just do it. Whatever it takes to get the painting done and the way you want it to look. I know many artists trace. I know there's many professional artists out there that use tracing. They trace and they use light tables, which are tables where there's a light source underneath the glass of the table they work on, and they put pictures underneath, photographs underneath, and they draw over the top, which is sort of like a window in your house. It's pretty much the same idea, but just giving some ideas here on how you can trace if you're not really comfortable with some really challenging angles and things like that. No problem. That's fine. So let's keep going here. So now we have the some rocks along this foundation here. You have a stone and concrete foundation below this barn. So we just want to capture some ideas here as we go, and we will have fun with this. And we have the top of the wall here. We have some concrete and stones here. We're going to put that in. Some more stones here. So at the base of this river here, we have plenty of rocks and interesting shapes, and so we'll put those in. And then there's some weeds and grass and things like that. We'll put those in too. And there's some more weeds and grass over here. Have fun with this. And again, once you get that main barn shape in, you're pretty much home free with this drawing. And then here, of course, we're going to there's some trees over here alongside the barn, like that. And then we have the bridge, which starts about here and goes up like this. And then the top of the bridge is here. Angles down. Then you have the other steel structure of the bridge that goes here, and it's same angle. We have some trees and branches and things that'll hide the details. We don't have to worry about all the details of everything. And then here we're going to add the large steel road structure of the bridge, the span of the bridge, and then there's a railing that goes across here. So we just kind of get the idea of what we're going to eventually put pen drawing. We're going to put pen drawing down on this, so we don't have to go too detailed. So we have a vertical structure there, some structural portions of the bridge. Then we have another vertical support. These are vertical supports, that suspension supports for the bridge. Then from there we have angular supports. And these go up too. They all follow that same angle. So if you can imagine, they're all going to kind of line up with that same angle. So that's important just to remember that. And this goes up that way, like that. And then there's another. Okay, and that's good. And then there's some more. Now we could have took a break. I'm big on breaks. Everyone take breaks. You might have taken a break when we finished the building and the water line, and then come back and do the bridge. But I feel pretty comfortable right now. My concentration is good. And we're going to have in the background here, the treetops are here, and the water is here. So This is all, you know, trees and weeds and grasses and things all along the shoreline here, but mostly trees and bushes all along here. And they sort of trail this way down on an angle like this into the distance. Okay, let's take a break. We're going to do some more details in the barn structure here along this scene here. But again, let's take breaks and we'll come right back. All right, we're moving along here. Now, we know we're going to go over the top of this. We took a break. I'd always like to mention, too, if you haven't subscribed, please hit the subscribe button below. We make videos here every week, every weekend. Sometimes we make videos during the week, middle of the week. So you never know when our videos are going to come out. If you subscribe, you'll know right away. You'll get alerted. If you hit the notification bell, which is right to the right of the subscribe button, you'll be able to get the exact time when we do put out a new video, so you can check on it right away. And if you'd like to work along with us, you can do that. And if not, you can wait till the next video comes out. But it's great to get subscribed, and it's great to hit that notification bell, because in this way you're always up to speed on what we're doing here on our channel. All right, so we're always doing watercolors, obviously. This is 100% watercolors and water-based media. So we're going to continue on here. We're drawing, and now we're just going to finish up our pencil drawing, so that when we go over the top of this with our pen drawing, pretty much we have everything all set. So now we notice that we're going to do the windows on the side of this barn. Windows are just below this line here, and we have 3. Let's make a line. Perfect. And we have three windows, so let's do that. Equally spaced. You won't see these light pencil lines later after we paint. These lines, vertical lines, are going to be straight, plumb, as we say. Plumb is perfectly vertically straight, plumb. So these windows will be perfectly plumb. And we'll put those on like that. There we go. Now we have 3 more windows up here. They are on a slight angle this way, if you can see that. They're on a bit of an angle. They're not level. They're a little bit on an angle all the way. Okay, that looks good. Now we have 5 windows on this side of the building, and they line up the same level, except you have an angle here. So you're just going to remember, if you're drawing it and you're not tracing it, you're going to have an angle this way over here on this side of the building. It gets straighter here, and then the angle gets steeper like that, if you can imagine. So the angle here is straight, pretty much. A little bit of an angle this way. As you go up here, it angles a little more, and then up here it's even steeper. So that's all you have to remember. You feel it out, you get the lines, you go across here, it's level here, level, straight across, and then a slight angle back. Here across, almost level. And then we have 5 windows we surmised. And we use those lines to get our angles for our windows too as well. So that really helps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And they get a little smaller as they go into the distance here. So we just remember that. And again, we're going to go over this with pen, black permanent pen, waterproof pen. And then over here on this side, I did notice that I did not pay attention 100% accurately. So that's where we take our eraser out, our kneaded eraser. Makes no crumbs. Crumb-free erasing. And we're going to do an awning. There's an awning here. No need to get exactly perfect, but that looks good. And then there's some, they look like maybe some sliding doors or French doors over here. So let's add those in. And then there's another window or two over here, I think. Okay, good enough. Looks great. We're now completed with our pencil drawing. So we're going to conclude here with another break, and we'll come back and we'll start putting in our pen drawing over the top of this. So that's going to be fun, and then it's even going to be more exciting when we go over and do our watercolors on top of our pen drawing. But let's take a break, and then we'll come back and we'll start doing our pen drawing over the top of this pencil drawing that we created here, so that we have a guide, and also the pen drawing will be a lot of fun because we don't have to stress. We can just trace over all of this with our pens. Okay, we'll be right back. Okay, so now we're going to get started with our pen drawing. And again, we were just saying before that we looked at our selection. We have Staedtler and Faber-Castell permanent black ink pens. They're waterproof, and you can paint over them after they dry for, you can usually draw, and then 5 minutes later you can paint over the top of them and they will not bleed at all. So these are really excellent quality. So let's get started. You can also use Sharpie markers too, permanent markers, Sharpie permanent markers. They have a nice point, and selections are just up to you. So now we pretty much know we're going to do our pen drawing over the top of this pencil drawing. Our light source is here. That means on the left side of the building, we're going to have our shadowing. So we'll start here, and we'll just maybe start some shadowing. So let's do some lines. That's all. You have some fun. And if one of my markers is too thin, I go to a thicker marker. Sometimes the markers are out of ink. I just didn't know it. So and I'll just keep working my pens and see which ones are. I also have a new package I bought. So I just bought a new package a few weeks ago because I knew I was going to do some pen drawing. So now I have the Staedtler 8 pack. And now this 8 pack has all the variety of pen thicknesses of the tip of the pens, so you'll see there. So if we need to use a few of our newer pens, we can do that. I'll put them over to the side. Right now we're still good. And I'm just getting some nice vertical lines, slanted lines here for the roof. This is in shadow. And this is sort of like ink and wash. You're kind of just getting some nice darks with your pen where the shadows are, of course. And I'm going to put some shadows in like so. And I'm just careful to get some interesting pen lines in. So I'm just doing my pen lines here. And then here we have quite a bit of dark shadow on this side here. We can use a larger Sharpie here to get some nice darks in there, like so. And here too. I'm referring back to my photograph. You can use your painting or your pencil drawing or your pen drawing, whatever you like to use for your reference. So now I'll start filling in for the windows. Now here with the windows, just going real, quickly. I'm not, take your time if you need to. I'm just getting in the darks of the windows over here and the doors over here as well. And there's some dark shadow underneath these awnings. That looks good. And over here we have some, I'll use a thinner line marker here. So what I have here is there's a healthy shadow under each window at the top of the window. So that I want to capture and make sure I have that in at a minimum. So you'll see that I'm just trying to get that dark shadow at the top of the window. Now here's where I might not use my photograph exactly. I'm just gonna, in the past I know from experience that what the window shadowing is going to be, it's the light's coming from the left this way. So we're going to get that shadow on the left of the window over here. And maybe a little bit of shadowing on this side, but mostly the darks will be on this side. And I'm just doing it haphazardly. These are small windows. We don't have to worry every detail. That looks pretty good. And we have some shadowing here on these rocks and along the foundation. So I'm going to try to get some of that in. And there's some rock formations here. And I refer back to the photograph. Then I go with a thinner line here. I see some more thinner shadowing here. And over here as well. So I'm going to use my photograph as a guide to help me find the shadowing. And there's some shadowing over here with the water. And we're going to do some shadowing here. So now here I know there's a little shadowing there where that concrete abutment wall is. And there's some shadowing along this abutment wall here. There's some now I see some lines like that. Now we will use this reflection area since this is darker. We just want to add some shadowing lines into the water. And there's some trees in the distance here. And there's another building over here. So here's where we just continue on doing our drawing. There's some fencing here. And we can add some things here and there. And what else? Let's see. We'll make sure we get these shadows correct. And there's a little dark spot on the wall here. This might be like where there was some drainage maybe there. So we'll put that down in the reflection below. And then these reflections here. We're just putting the reflections below this here. This actually is more so the reflections are right beneath the rocks, like that. Reflections over here, same thing. Okay, looking good. So we have the reflections down here. We have the reflections here of the building, which is going to be darker on this side because of the shadowing. So now we'll just put some shadowing over here with our line, with our pen lines. And some more pen lines here. Now, if you need to take a break, no problem. Take a break if you feel you need to take a break. This pen drawing is, you know, if you're not used to doing pen drawings a lot, it can be, you know, kind of taxing on the concentration levels. So we're doing the shadowing. And let's go over here. Let's do the bridge. And if you need a ruler to do this comfortably, fine. I'm just going to zip it in. So the thicker lines of the bridge, I'm doing freehand with a Sharpie here, you can see. And then when we do the finer lines, I'm just going to use my Faber-Castell. And this is just fun. I'm going right over my pencil lines, which really is the real fun of this. Once you have your pencil drawing done, you can just go over that. And you don't have to worry so much. Everything's kind of already done for you. And we'll just do these are just the cross bracings on the vertical supports for the bridge. Haphazard, no reason to get everything exact. And there's some more lines. And you can kind of do a few like lighter lines just to, and that's fine. That's fine like that. And then I'm going to just do a couple more interesting lines here. This is where the walkway is. So there's a walkway along the bridge, the guard railing alongside the bridge here. And that's fine. Now the rest we can really we're going to tackle the rest with our watercolor paints. But the thing is, let's make sure we use the pen drawing throughout the entire composition, the entire painting. So since we're using the pen drawing here, let's not do the pen drawing in one location and then skip and say, well, I'm not going to worry about the rest in pen drawing, I'll just do the rest in watercolor. We have to, once you start adding pen drawing into a composition, or even if you're doing ink and wash and you're doing ink here, the thing is, once you start with ink, you have to work the whole entire composition with your pen or your ink. Then you go over with your watercolor wash. You wouldn't want to just start a small section with pen or ink and then start filling in with watercolor, because that's going to look odd when you just have one spot on your composition with pen drawing. So if that makes sense, we need the pen drawing throughout the entire composition for this, for it to look good and for it to look like it harmonizes with the entire composition. I'm doing some just some simple tree shapes and limbs and branches and trunks of trees with my That is important. Let's do that over here too as well. So let's put as much pen as we can really in this without going overboard, of course. You know, just let's... Again, we want to get that really nice effect of the pen drawing throughout the entire rectangle here that we're working within. And so I'm going to add it over here too. Just doing some and I think if we do that, just some and then over here in the distance, and I'm just filling in some areas of dark that I see in the photograph. And then I'm mirroring down the windows and some of the details here in the water. Okay, I think that's good. All right, we're going to stop the video right now, and then what I'll do is we'll also leave this as an option if you want to just use this as your reference. I'm going to make this a reference photo in the beginning of the video so that you can use this if you want to have this as your reference photo to work from. Okay, we will be right back. All right, now the fun part. We're going to do our watercolor washes over our pen drawing. This is the exciting part, so I'm going to use a number 8 Raphael brush here. It's a watercolor brush, Kolinsky Sable, round brush. With these ink and washes, or with pen and wash, once you're done with your drawing, you're actually, the pencil drawing is the most important part. So if you get that first pencil drawing where you lay out everything where it has to go, and of course you're going to do your hash marks around your painting first off. Once you have that completed, then it's just a matter of going over your pencil lines with your ink or your pen drawing. So we did our pen drawing over the top of this. We could have used ink too as well. Ink would have worked nicely. We do ink and washes all the time. Did I mention, hey, if you subscribe to this channel, you're going to see that we do ink and wash paintings, which are pretty much the same as this, or we're going to do pen and wash now. Very similar. So get subscribed, would you? And also, too, if you hit that notification bell to the right of the subscribe button, you'll know exactly when our videos come out. You can check out the first few seconds of the video, and you'll see actually on the thumbnail that I have on my video what we're actually doing. So you'll see a picture of our finished painting of what we're going to work towards in our videos. So always remember, when you subscribe to my channel, you'll always know what we're working on, because you're going to see that finished painting right away, the first thing when you look at the thumbnail of my video. So you don't even have to really click on my video if you don't want to. You can just look at the thumbnail and say, oh, that's something I'd like to try, and then you can go for it from there. All right, so let's get moving along here. And again, I thank you for coming along, and I'm glad you're here. This is the fun part now, so let's get real excited. This is going to be great. We're going to work out just a few colors. We're not going to get too, crazy with different colors. Let's just start out with some warm colors. Let's go with some raw sienna, yellow ochre, burnt sienna, burnt umber. So we just have a nice mix there. Notice that I keep the colors all separated so that we have a variety of colors within that one grouping of colors here in my palette. And then we're going to go with some purple and some cobalt blue, some purple. We want to get some of that shadowy mix. There we go. And I think we're going to be pretty good with that. Now we can also French ultramarine blue. We're going to make our darker mix, so that will be French ultramarine blue, burnt umber, and burnt sienna. There we go. So now we've mixed a variety of color as well as tonal value. So we know with our darkest darks, we've mixed our burnt umber, French ultramarine blue, and burnt sienna over here with lots of French ultramarine blue. Then here we mixed a medium tonal value, which is our raw sienna, yellow ochre, raw umber, and burnt sienna, and a touch of burnt umber. And then over here we have our purple, which is ultramarine violet, Winsor & Newton, my favorite purple. And then some cobalt blue and French ultramarine blue. So now we have a good mixture of colors we can work with. We're also going to work with some greens. Let's mix our greens up. So now you see here, I'm formulating my colors that I'm going to use for my entire painting here. And that's good to do, so that you can relax. You can relax when you go in to do your painting. So we're using sap green, olive green, raw umber for our greens. And this should really be the perfect combination of colors, where we're not using too many colors, just enough to get the look we're looking for. Keeping more of a simple color scheme, let's say, in this type of painting is better, because you have that real powerful ink or that pen drawing underneath. So that really carries the painting. So if you just get a little bit of wash on there, you're okay. Let's do the let's do some of the darks here. And I'm going to mix them all. This is the shadow side of the structure. Then we have the purple, cobalt blue, burnt sienna, maybe a little bit of cerulean blue, And we'll get our roof shadow color. Again, this is in shadow, but not extreme shadow. The sunlight's not there we go. And purple and French ultramarine blue, shadow color. Okay, now we're going to go in and raw umber, burnt sienna, yellow ochre, raw sienna. And this is a little bit of cadmium red. This is the light side of the barn structure. A little bit of blue in there, just to, and purple. But mostly are warm colors. I'll make this a little more blue for that concrete look. Here. And we'll mix around, maybe a little bit of cadmium yellow just to give it that bright sunlight feel. Cadmium lemon. There we go. Then we'll reflect this down into the water. So we'll take our same colors and reflect them down into the water. And this section here is maybe a little bit greener. So we'll put that down in the water too. Okay, now we're going to go with some French ultramarine blue and green. And this is the tree sections above. So that's the some cobalt blue. A little bit of splashing. And let's keep going. We'll do some greens up here. Now up here, maybe a little more blue in the greens to make this feel like some distant green color. And some raw umber. and a little bit of French ultramarine blue, burnt sienna. We'll just get a little bit of dark. And maybe some cadmium red. And yellow, raw sienna. And then we'll come back and get a little bit of yellow in here. Some of the golden colors here, like over here. We'll use this same color scheme on the front of this this barn back here in the distance. And we'll get some more raw umber. And then we'll work our greens over this way. Sap green, olive green, raw umber. We'll use some purple over here underneath some of the shadow areas here. And I'm going to do some splashing technique here, I'm going to mix up my colors, some raw umber mixed in with the greens. And so here, this is the fun part. We're sort of finishing up the painting. We've got all the colors. If you find that if you've gone over an area, you could dab up the paint. You can go in with some darker wash for splashing. It's also good to leave some white paper and some lights and darks here and there. So instead of just blocking it all in solid, leave some darker tonal values, some lighter tonal values as you work through this area. And I'll go a little darker here, French ultramarine blue and purple. Little burnt umber. Just to have that little bit of shadowing there at the bottom. Burnt umber, French ultramarine blue. maybe some water lines. With the purple. Just to give this a watery feel down here along this. And then some raw umber over here. I see some rocks and sands over here. Let's do that with the splashes like that. And some greens here, olive green, sap green, little burnt umber. I'll put the some of the greens over here and then reflect them down in the water. Along here. And then just like that. You could let that reflect down in the water. I'm just trying to get that feel of really nice water feel there. A little darker shadow colors here. And if you do those little darker shadow colors, mystery shapes, that will give it more of a feel of water. And then some vertical strokes, just to like that. And then we'll just take some cerulean blue, very simple sky wash. We don't want to do a lot to the sky. Let's just add a little sky wash and just scrub around and have fun with it. And you can make a little bit of interesting colors. Cerulean blue is a really favorite of mine, so if I add a little bit of that to the sky in just a few locations, that looks good. Touch of orange. In the sky color, just a little bit of that orange. And a little bit of wash onto that building here, and I think we're pretty much good. That looks fine. So this is a really nice painting with some ink, some pen and wash. We'll get that concrete feel and that stone feel by adding some splashes. That's always good to add some splashing to give those little small rocks and things a couple dabs with the paintbrush as well. And then we can also add some wood siding, barn siding here. Doesn't have to be everywhere, just in a few spots here and there. And a couple vertical, couple just dots for some nails and some wood type feeling of like some wood. And we're and if you find you want to make a few adjustments, you can and if we need to, we can also add a little darker wash, some purple, French ultramarine blue, purple, burnt sienna, purple, if you find that needs a little bit of a darker wash, I think that looks better. And over here as well, some darker wash. And if you have some washes that kind of overlap areas, no problem. You take some tissue and just blot up a little bit. But that's good. Okay, so now basically this is complete. Let's take a look. We'll remove the tape and see the the nice crisp border around it. The beautiful Neshannock Station Bridge in New Jersey, in Neshannock Station. A nice pen and wash. Looks really good. We'll zoom in a little bit here. Okay, so a lot of fun, lots of drawing practice here. We did our pencil drawing, our pen drawing, and then our final washes of watercolor. This came out good. It looks good. Very enjoyable and very fun to do. I hope you had a great time. We'll see you on the next video. Bye-bye.